Welcome to the deep dive.
Whoa.
Okay, so today we're jumping straight into the Enneagram.
Right.
This really fascinating system, maps out 9 core personality types.
And the motivations underneath, which is key.
Exactly, the sort of hidden drivers behind why we do what we do.
I mean, we're narrowing our focus today, really digging into one type, the social four.
Yeah, social 4, and
Mhm.
based on the research, it's often linked pretty strongly with this core feeling of shame.
The label often given, yeah.
Yeah.
The shame subtype. We're going to try and unpack what that actually means in practice.
And to really bring this to life for you, we thought we'd do something a bit different. We're using a character, Meiko Akizuki from Marmalade Boy.
Ah, yes. A great example.
For anyone who knows the anime, her emotional world is just so well textured.
Yeah.
And it really struck us looking at the material, just how well she seems to embody this social 4 profile.
Yeah, remarkably so. And the idea isn't just, anime nostalgia, fun as that is.
No.
It's about using Maiko's journey, her feelings, her actions, using that as a lens to understand the social four characteristics.
Right. So for you listening, the hope is that seeing it play out through Meiko gives you some really valuable insights into this type specifically, sure, but maybe also just into, well, human emotion generally.
And what makes people tick? Ourselves, maybe others too.
Okay, so let's get into the core of it then. The research really hammers this home. At the heart of the social 4, there's this deep, almost pervasive feeling of shame, self-devaluation.
Yeah, like a fundamental sense of being flawed, like something's just
Right.
wrong or missing inside.
And how does that compare to, say, other 4s? Because envy is the usual passion for type 4, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how that core feeling manifests differently. So the sexual four might express that envy through like intense competition. I need to be better than them.
Okay.
And the self-preservation four, they often internalize it more. They become really tenacious, pushing themselves super hard to kind of compensate for that inner lack through sheer effort, endurance.
But Meiko, that feeling of inadequacy seems so turned inward with her, doesn't it?
Completely.
You see it constantly. Her doubts about whether she's actually worthy of Nomura-sensei's affection. It's not like trying to beat out a rival.
No.
It's this core belief that she, herself, isn't good enough for him.
Precisely. And that core shame, well, it naturally leads into how they interact with the world, especially socially. You get this really pronounced timidity.
Which we definitely see with Meiko. Big time.
Oh, yeah. Her shyness, especially around romance or just new people.
Yeah.
It's extreme sometimes. But it's not just, being a bit quiet.
Right. It connects back, doesn't it, to that shame and that fear of being rejected.
Absolutely. If you fundamentally believe you're somehow defective, putting yourself out there feels incredibly vulnerable, dangerous almost.
Any little negative signal could just confirm your worst feels about yourself.
Exactly. And again, contrast that. A sexual four might be more dramatic or even pushy, trying to connect. A self-preservation four might just withdraw and be stoic.
But the social 4 is timidity. It feels like a shield.
It is, in a way, a shield against potential hurt, all stemming from that feeling of, I'm not good enough.
Okay, and that brings us to Meiko's whole situation with Nomura-sensei, the suffering.
The romantic melancholy.
The material we looked at really highlights how social 4s often express their inner world through this kind of visible suffering. It's not loud or demanding, but it's present.
Yeah, it's out there for people to see, even if it's quiet. And what's really interesting is the dynamic that can create.
How so?
But it's probably not conscious, right? Not deliberate manipulation. But that quiet, visible suffering can actually draw people in. It pulls for care.
Ah, okay. Like how Meiko's friends are always there for her when she's down about Nomura.
Exactly. They rally around her. Her sadness becomes something they respond to, something they want to fix or comfort.
So that idea of seduction through suffering, it's less about being calculating.
Much less. It's more about how their genuine vulnerability and pain just naturally clicks with other people's empathy.
That makes sense. That's a really key distinction. It's a pattern, not necessarily a strategy.
Right. And this ties into something else fascinating about the social four. This tendency they can have to romanticize pain.
Oh, definitely. With Meiko and Nomura, all the obstacles, the forbidden nature of it, the heartache.
She idealizes it, doesn't she?
It feels like loving him through the pain, because of the pain almost, becomes part of her identity, part of the story.
Yeah. For the social four, suffering can gain this kind of special meaning. It gets woven into their sense of self. It can feel like proof of the depth of their feelings.
So it's not like they like being miserable.
Not necessarily, no. It's more that Intense emotions, even painful ones, can feel more real, more authentic than just feeling neutral. It validates their inner world in a way.
But it's not all inward looking, is it? Because Meiko, despite all of her own stuff, she's incredibly empathetic towards her friends.
Oh, hugely. It's another hallmark. Social fours often have this remarkable capacity for empathy.
Where does that come from?
Well, it seems to stem directly from their own emotional depth and complexity, because they feel things so intensely themselves, especially pain.
They just get it?
They get it. They
Oh.
develop this heightened sensitivity to what others are feeling. It's like their own struggles tune them in to the suffering of others.
And the research also mentioned creative outlets being common. We see hints of that with Meiko, her interest in literature and poetry.
Yes, exactly. Art, writing, music. These often become really important ways for social fours to process and express that rich, intense inner world.
The way to get it out.
Yeah, to communicate feelings that might be too complex or overwhelming to just talk about directly. It makes the internal tangible.
Okay, now this next point felt very Meiko, this sort of passive relationship to desire.
Ah, yes.
That's crucial.
It's not that she doesn't want the relationship with Nomura. She clearly does.
Yeah.
But actually going after it, there's this real hesitation.
It's more than just her timidity, though that's part of it. It ties back again to that core belief, I don't really deserve this. Ah, okay. So it's hard to actively pursue something if deep down you feel unworthy of having it.
Precisely. So you see this pattern of waiting, of hoping, rather than actively taking steps. Meiko's reluctance, even when there are openings, it speaks volumes about that deeper feeling of unworthiness. She almost can't let herself claim what she wants.
Wow. Okay. And that passivity, plus the shame, it must make them incredibly sensitive to rejection.
Extremely. Hypersensitive, really.
We see that with Meiko, too, right? How she reacts to even small things from Nomura that feel like a slight or withdrawal.
Yes. They're sort of primed to see rejection because of that underlying fear of abandonment, ambiguous signals. They're likely to interpret them in the most negative light.
Which sounds like a defense mechanism.
It partly is, yeah, trying to anticipate the hurt. But sadly, it can sometimes become a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, too.
How so?
Well, if you react strongly based on a perceived rejection, that reaction itself might push someone away, creating the very outcome you feared. It's a tough cycle.
Yeah, that sounds really difficult. Okay, so let's try and pull this all together using Meiko as our guide.
Our case study, if you will.
Right. We see the social four Enneagram type, really defined by that foundational shame, that feeling of inadequacy,
Definitely the starting point.
which then shows up as, well, timidity, social anxiety,
A tendency towards visible, often melancholic suffering,
the way they can romanticize that pain, find meaning in it.
but also that deep capacity for empathy for others.
Right. And often creative expression as an outlet.
Don't forget the passivity towards desire, rooted in unworthiness.
Yes. And that intense hypersensitivity to rejection.
It really is quite a detailed picture, and Meiko, as a fictional example, just captures it so well, quite nuanced.
She really does. So for you listening, again, the point isn't to rush out and type everyone you know,
No, definitely not.
but maybe just reflect. Do any of these characteristics resonate? Maybe in yourself, maybe in how you see others interact?
Using frameworks like the Enneagram this way, it's about gaining tools, tools for more self-awareness, maybe more understanding, more compassion in our relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. Which brings us to maybe a final thought to leave you with.
Hmm.
If we really try to understand that core experience of shame for the social four, not as something bad, but just as their fundamental emotional landscape,
Yeah, as their reality.
how might truly getting that shift how we interact, both with ourselves, if any of this feels familiar, and with the others who might show these traits? Could it lead to, I don't know, more compassionate connections?
That's a really powerful question to mull over, I think. Definitely food for thought.